You're here sort of part of a larger speaking tour talking about, I guess, among other things, it's mostly environmental, all the different speakers they have here. When you come to a city like Edmonton, how does it differ from other places that you've been to doing this? Obviously Rio, different kind of, a different audience, but also a different message you almost have to do on a global scale than a city one. Or is it at all?
Well, each city has their unique challenges, and I have always felt that Edmonton has been extremely progressive. I've been here many times, and all the people that I've met and have interacted with me have been genuinely seeking solutions, which I find is usually true for people who actually live in places, who actually have to deal with the problems. And it's really frustrating to see in the media how challenges also often get cast as, just us versus them. As they said today, I mean, it's really this false binary that we are presented when the problems are so much more complex. And if we are going to move forward in sustainability, we're going to have to confront these challenges in many, many different ways and many, many partnerships. It's not good enough to say, hey, you over there, you're the enemy, and that's not how I think people are actually engaging. In Edmonton, Edmonton's unique because its situation is unique with respect to, of course, the oil sands and energy in Alberta, and in that respect, I think it's an incredibly exciting place to live when you're talking about the sustainable transformation. And it's pretty inspiring to see what the city of Edmonton is talking about and the level of engagement. The way we green, just looking over there, and I know that this is, the presentation to the public, but even the level of engagement and the acceptance of climate change as fact, which is obviously is really encouraging.
You've mentioned the sort of dichotomy of now corporations have sort of become the leaders almost instead of countries or world leaders, things like that. Edmonton Council has made a pretty concerted effort to consider themselves a corporation as well in a lot of ways. So essentially they're not really removed from that whole thing. Do you see cities like the city of Edmonton, are they able to actually get over that dependency on the economy that they're already bought into? Because obviously you ask individuals and you say, well, try making those small changes, and that's great. Mm-hmm. Earlier this morning they're talking about an arena that's more than $500 million to build. They're talking about an LRT system that would be sustainably a great thing for the city environmentally. It cost $1.6 billion to build. They're building a museum, neighborhood renewals, and most of the money they ask for from the province comes from oil sands right now. Is there, and I don't want to set it in that us against them kind of thing, oil sands or not.
Yeah.
But you seem very hopeful. You use the word over and over again. How do you keep that hope, and do you think it's something that they can move from into something more sustainable?
It has to be. It has to be. There's another conversation or another way of casting the conversation in the media that happens all the time, which is this kind of talk about hypocrisy and about how you're not allowed to really raise the conversation about oil sands or sustainability if you're not a monk who lives on the mountainside and has zero carbon footprint.
How'd you get here? Everyone always says.
Exactly. Being part of this society, just being Canadian with a regular Canadian lifestyle means we have a certain carbon footprint. But that's why we have to, try and improve it. We have to look at what we're doing and constantly ask questions. That's not saying, that something is evil, but we have to constantly improve ourselves. I mean, I think that that's part of being part of a democracy, is that we're constantly checking in with the system and making sure we're living up to these goals and standards. And that is something that I think has really been dropped in the last while, especially thinking about the story of the UN and Rio and the political engagement on this international level, is this idea of keeping our social values and our responsibility to the people at a high level and to democracy. That conversation has kind of been dropped, and we really need to be thinking about our responsibilities to each other and to our systems of governance, and really revitalize them, because they're part of this trouble and dilemma with being dependent on corporations that aren't answered to that don't answer to voters. I mean, what if the city of Edmonton or any city, started saying, well, we don't want to be beholden to these corporations that are doing these bad things. So let's set up some values. Let's set up some standards to try to be accountable for the values that we say we have, and there is lots of stuff happening with divestment from, bad industries or industries that institutions don't feel that they support, and there's a precedent for that kind of movement, divesting and to actually make some pretty big change. But these are hard conversations because we all want an arena and we all want these things. But what are the costs that we're willing to make?